So Jericho,
Yeah.
before we get into today's episode with Arian Simone, let's talk about networking. It's so important for making connections that can potentially be really valuable to your business, to your career, and yet it's so gross sometimes. Plus, the reality of the matter is that creepy encounters can happen way too often.
That is so true, but Bumble Biz is fixing all of that. How, Sophia?
Well, a couple ways. First, just like the original dating mode in Bumble, women get to decide who they have a conversation with. When you make a match, you have 24 hours to start a networking conversation, and the person you matched with likewise has 24 hours to respond. Second, it's a new mode that's within the Bumble app you already know and love, and it functions just the exact same way. You just switch over to Bumble Biz mode.
Okay, love it. So if you want to use Bumble Biz, you just download the Bumble app from the App Store?
Yes, and you can set up a separate profile that reflects your professional experience, your professional photos, and what you're looking to get out of these networking connections you're about to make.
Cute.
Success. It's such a complicated idea, and yet for so long we've all collectively subscribed to a single definition of the word, which was likely given to us by a white-haired dude somewhere in a boardroom in the 1960s. And there's nothing wrong with that definition, with the notion of climbing a corporate ladder with a singular focus. But it's time to make space for a few other definitions, for side hustles and well-being and failing forward, and for the idea that success is a wild ride, not the destination at the end of it. Join me for a journey into the lives of women who are redefining success and paving the way for others with grit and grace. I'm Sophia Amoruso, the founder and CEO of Girlboss Media, and this is Girlboss Radio. Today's guest, Arian Simone, has been on a journey that has forced her to confront so many fears. Imagine losing your job, running out of money, living in your car, and going days without a meal. Well, that's what happened to Arian. But instead of letting it destroy her, she outworked and overpowered the negativity that life thrust upon her.
I end up running out of money in my apartment in Los Angeles, and I moved to my car. I had nothing. I got a note on my door, and it said, you need to pay rent or quit. And I said, well, I guess I have to quit because I don't have anything to give them.
She leaned on her faith, her ingenuity, and positive vibes to help her find a way to her dream career.
So it's so crazy that the way the universe just works, you're going to be brought back around to whatever plan you're supposed to be on anyway.
Today, she's the CEO of Arian Simone Enterprises, a brand that she built to serve women like herself, hardworking visionaries who are locked on their dream and ready to hustle until it's a reality.
Just go and start with what you're passionate about, because there's always a way to monetize it, whether it's a service, whether it's a product. Just start with what's in your heart.
She's delivering her tools through a magazine, a podcast, a blog, a marketing and PR division, a subscription box service, training programs for female entrepreneurs, and retreats and conferences geared to helping women be fearless. Today, she'll share her journey with us. She'll talk to us about how she found herself in financial hell and what she learned by being there. And we'll talk about fear, that annoying feeling that holds us back from getting where we want to be. But first, Jericho's here.
Hi.
Hi, Jericho. Here at girlboss.com, we are thinking a lot about 2018 and what we're going to be doing and what kind of self-reflection and changes we might want to be making. But I don't know, is that really a thing? What do you think about it, Jericho?
Yeah, I personally love resolutions, but there's definitely a point at which you can go too far. So one of the things we're talking about on Girlboss this week is the idea of, life makeovers and self-reinventions and taking like this new year, new you thing to like kind of a bad place because you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself because like after all, like what's wrong with the old you? Mm-hmm. Like you shouldn't have to want to reinvent yourself. Like there's little things that we can do to improve our lives. But I think that the idea of just kind of self-acceptance and like self-love and like doing little things here and there every day is so much better than reinvention.
So much easier to commit to small things.
Yeah, you're setting yourself up for failure otherwise.
Intermittent kind of, in periods and phases and phasing it rather than saying, because every year I'm like, I want to stop picking my face. I want to exercise 5 days a week. I want to stop eating sugar. I want to, whatever it is. And every year I still haven't done it.
Yeah, and then you just feel really bad about yourself.
Yeah, it's a lot of self-lashing.
Yeah.
And so what's the solution? How can we rethink this? What are we talking about on girlboss.com?
There's this one idea where you replace self-reinvention with reintegration. So you would look at your kind of goals, and then you would look at like, what's the actual goal here? So if you want to say like, I want to stop picking my face this year. Like, what am I really saying? Like, maybe it's, I want to make peace with my appearance this year. You know what I mean? Which is something that like honors yourself, like the way you are. You're not changing yourself in a way that you're never actually going to be able to do in like a practical level. So it's kind of just about like thinking about resolutions in a way that is breaking them down into like practical things that'll make yourself feel better, but not actually changing yourself or making yourself be better, because like you're great as you are.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
I feel great. If you haven't heard by now, well, first, where have you been? You must be new to Girlboss Radio, and you've got a whole catalog of episodes to get through. And secondly, we have an epic partnership with Pinterest happening right now, and its mission is to get you, but also everybody in our office here, to get out of our comfort zones and try new things. Not only is it super fun to participate in a new challenge every Wednesday, but there are prizes to be won, so listen up.
That's true. So basically we ask you to try something new, and then all you have to do is share your tries with us using the hashtags #WhatIfWednesday, #GirlbossRadio, and #MyPinterest. And you could be featured on the Girlboss website and on social media. And every week, 3 people are also winning a signed copy of Sophia's Girlboss workbook. And you can also potentially win free tickets to the next Girlboss rally, which is in LA in April.
This week's challenge, what if you tried something new today to boost your confidence this week? How about you did something to express your most authentic self? We're asking you to try styling your hair a totally different way, or even cutting it if you're game. Instant confidence boost. And just think, what would Arian do?
She would do something amazing and radical.
She would. So find your perfectly unique do on Girlboss's #WhatIfWednesday Pinterest board, then change up your look. Share yours on Instagram and let us know how the experience of unashamedly expressing your confidence through your hair or headgear or scrunchie changed your week. Use #WhatIfWednesday, #GirlbossRadio, and #MyPinterest, and you could be featured on our social media channels on girlboss.com or win 2 tickets to the Girlboss rally in April.
Yay!
Before we get to Arian Simone, I want to take a second to talk about the best gift anytime, not just during the holiday season, and it's Winc. I love Winc. So it's spelled W-I-N-C, and Winc is simple. It makes it easy to discover great wine. Because Winc's wine experts select wines matched to your taste, personalized for you, shipped right to your door, and starting at just $13 a bottle. You take a quiz and you ask a bunch of questions like, do you like blueberries? And then, like magic, they select wines that you are going to love. And there's nothing like coming home to a box of delicious Winc wines selected just for you. It is the best day of every month for me.
Wow.
Each month, there are new delicious wines like the insanely popular Summer Water Rosé. There's no membership fees. You can skip any month, cancel any time. Shipping is complimentary. And if you don't like a bottle they send you, they'll replace it with a bottle you'll love. No questions asked. So try Winc today. Go to trywinc.com/girlboss and you'll get $20 off your first shipments. That's trywinc.com/girlboss for $20 off. trywinc.com/girlboss. Now, Arian Simone, CEO of Arian Simone Enterprises, a woman who speaks to the power of being fearless and believing in yourself when failure just isn't an option.
I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, born and raised, yes.
And what was life in Detroit like growing up?
Life in Detroit was very fast paced. City life, urban city life at that. What I love about it most was that that's where I get, I would say, like my hustle energy, my work ethic from. So I saw like all of these people making power moves at a very young age. So I knew as a child that, hey, things are limitless. I have the opportunities to go start my own business, to do what I want to do. So as a child, you would catch me on the lawn, selling literally like clay items or anything I was making in my house on my mother's front lawn. I was always selling something. In middle school, I was selling poinsettias. Yes, to all of the parents. And I went through my mother's Rolodex and I said, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to call all your friends and sell to them. And that's my introduction to business as a child growing up in Detroit, Michigan.
Were your parents entrepreneurs?
My father is.
Okay.
My father is. My mother is a computer engineer by I guess you say by trade or whatever, but she did go to college. But yeah, my father's definitely has always been a businessman.
Cool. And Detroit's having a really big resurgence right now.
Huge.
I've been there a couple times. The Foundation Hotel is really cool. And
I was just there eating too.
That restaurant, apparatus room.
Yes. When I saw your photo, I was like, oh my gosh, I was there last week.
It's the only place people go. I mean, it's the place to go.
Yes, it is like a destination spot.
It's kind of like being at Soho House in LA, except you don't need a membership. And you run into everybody kind of who's doing something interesting in Detroit.
So yeah, Detroit is at a time of revitalization, like say resurgence. There's so many new things going on. And the culture there is just so rich in history. At one point, we were the largest manufacturing city in the world. So there's so many different historical sites and whatnot. So I love my hometown.
And you went to college in Florida.
I did.
What made you go to Florida?
Oh my gosh, I honestly could have gone anywhere, which is what's so amazing about that part. I was a Coca-Cola scholar. And with that being said, at that time, this was before social media, and being a Coca-Cola scholar, you ended up in the newspaper, and national newspapers. So like the LA Times, New York Times, things of that sort. And every college, I was on the radar for every college. I had a full ride offer to Harvard. I had a full ride offer to Brown. Yes, all of these different schools. And I was like, you know what? My mother was really pushing a historically black college and university. She went to Michigan State, and she was like, I want you to have a different experience than I did. And she went to Michigan State at a time where it was still a lot of racism. And she was just like, I just don't want you to go through what I went through in school. And I was just like, oh, gosh. Okay. So she was like, I know you're going to enjoy this more than anything. So she took me in the car and we rode around and we visited different HBCUs. And I said, this one is the one I want to go to. At that time, Florida A&M University had the #1 business school, according to Times Magazine, in 1997 in the country. And I was like I said, I've always known I wanted to do business. And I didn't always, because they pushed college to some extent, but I knew I'd make it whether I went to school or not. So I was I was selling products as a kid. So I was like, you know what? Whatever I'm going to go to school for is going to be business. And that's how I ended up choosing FAMU.
Okay. And what did you studied business?
Yep. And they had a 5-year MBA program. So I got 2 degrees in 1.
Wait, so you have a master's?
Yeah, I have a master's.
How did I miss that? That's amazing.
I probably
So you got a master's and your undergraduate as a 2-in-1?
Yes. So the deal was, honestly, I still have the paper to this day where I made an agreement with my dad. The deal was, Arian, you're going to go there for 4 years. And since you passed up Harvard, and he was so pushing it, he was like, you got to go there for grad school. But when I found out they had a 5-year MBA, I was like, Dad, after the first year, I was like, I need to tell you kind of like a secret. He was like, what's that? I said, I'm not going to Harvard. He was like, well, what's going on? I said, they have this 5-year MBA program. I'm getting this stuff done now. I'm not going to continue being in school.
That's amazing.
And I said, it was enough for me, honestly, because I owned a business while in college at a mall, a retail-based store. So it was like, I didn't want to finish. I made a promise to my grandmother that I'd finish. So that's what kept me. I did not want to. I was like, my career has started. I don't need to keep this going. And I remembered the promise I gave her, and that's why I graduated.
Hold on. Let's just recap that for 1 second. Arian Simone opened a brick-and-mortar store at a Florida mall while she was a full-time college student. Chew on that for a minute.
It was called Fabulous.
Amazing.
And I would fly back and forth to Los Angeles to the fashion district and grab clothes and then come back to Tallahassee, Florida and just resell them.
I know that. I know that area very well.
Yes. So what did help keep me in school was that I was in a small town. Had I been in a major city, I probably would have had to call my grandmother and said, I don't know if I'm going to finish this.
Because it would have been too expensive?
No, it would have been just much more of a distraction.
Like a hassle.
Like, hey, I'm in a big city. I have my career. But being in a smaller environment, I was like, you know what? It helped me stay focused.
So was that store your first job?
I wouldn't say first job. First job, I worked as a kid. Even I worked retail as a kid. I worked in Express. And I was like 14, and they weren't supposed to hire people unless they were 16. And I just got on through with the interview, and I was like the #1 sales rep in the region. And that's when they found out, when my sales were just like off the charts, that's when they realized I was too young to be working there. And the manager was like, basically, oh, SHIT, what do we do with her? And she was like, okay, you've got to stay, but I need your birthday, like, to hurry up because I need you in this store. So they did keep me on board, even though I was under the age of working there. So that was like my first kind of like retail job. But I started working around the age 11.
Doing what?
Oh my gosh, secretarial work, everything. My father would help me out and help me find gigs, and I always wanted to work. So I've always had just great work ethic. But my first, I guess you would say, like, college kind of job, was my own business.
So why didn't you stay in retail after you graduated?
My gosh,
what happened
I was
to Fabulous?
Just having this conversation. I was in a place in my life where my gifts brought me to a place where my character hadn't reached. And what I mean by that is I was talented at what I was doing, but I wasn't aware that it just needed patience. And I was just young and I was anxious. And I was having a career, like you say, full-blown 2021. I had raised the money myself. I had raised about 6 figures in dollars just so I could open up this store. And I was like all excited. And I wasn't aware that business just had cycles. Things were up, down, or whatever. And I kept thinking I was failing, literally. And that's when I realized, let me just close the store. Because I was like, this is not working out for me. That's my only regret in business. It's my only regret. I had an online store back in 2002, and this was before the whole crave of online stores even hit. And I was like, I was just before my time. Had I just had the patience and had the, just like I said, the character to withstand all of that, I would have made it. That would have done very, very well. So now we're getting ready to relaunch an online store again, and I'm like, oh gosh, if I could just have held on 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And even when I was like reading your book, and I'm like, oh, she made it that time in that online space, Arian, you were just supposed to hold on.
That's really, 2002 is really early.
It was.
That's amazing.
It was. It definitely was. And my mother, being a computer engineer, she was always into the tech stuff. So she was telling me early on, people were getting their first emails in the 90s. And she was like, Arian, you have to get your email. And I was like, Mom, what is it? Nobody's going to be using that stuff. She's like, I'm trying to coach you on the ways of the world. I need you to listen. So pretty much, I ended up closing the store, and I got a job out of security, what I thought was security. So I closed the store, walk away from everything, graduate college, end up with a job out in Los Angeles, and moved cross country. And I was just all excited, like, oh my gosh, I'm working for Nellie's Apple Bottoms. I'm doing product placement, and 30 days go by, and I've turned the company around. I've placed product on Jessica Simpson, on Tyra Banks, and Oprah Winfrey. And then I look up, and they're like, we need to let you go. And I'm like, you can't let me go. I'm making this place pop. What are you doing? And they're like, no, the company's being sold. You're just like the last hired, first fired type thing. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I walked away from all of what I had going on that I thought I was failing at for you to tell me I have to go. Like, I was devastated, and I was just like, this is not really happening to me, is this? So it's so crazy that the way the universe just works, you're going to be brought back around to whatever plan you're supposed to be on anyway. So ended up, you know the story.
Tell us the story. For those of us who haven't heard the story, we want to know the story. What happened after college?
Gosh. So here's the story, guys. I end up running out of money in my apartment in Los Angeles, and I moved to my car. I had nothing. I got a note on my door, and it said, you need to pay rent or quit. And I said, well, I guess I have to quit because I don't have anything to give them. So I call home because my parents, I grew up middle class. I'm thinking they're going to bail me out of this thing. And they're like, we're in the middle of a divorce right now. We don't have anything to give you. And I was like, what the heck are you talking about? Like, so I'm frazzled because I'm like, I never imagined being the child that couldn't call home for money. Like, this cannot be happening to me. So my mom was like, well, I can get Christine to cover your storage for your furniture. I said, why does Auntie Christine have to cover my storage? Why don't you have, Mom, this thing's $400. Says, you don't have $400? Like, I was frustrated. And I was also not in tune because I hadn't lived at home in so long. I was not really aware of how bad things got. So I was like, what? I was just like, she's like, Arian, I really got to take care of Ashley's still here. I was just like, whoa, what is happening? I was like, you know what? Well, don't worry about me. I'm just going to figure this out. Now, mind you, I'm in a huge city, 11 million people, where I really have never lived before a day in my life. Don't know too much of anybody other than the people I'm meeting as I'm going along. So I was just like, okay, so moved to the car. Then I was at the car. Then one of the girls at Apple Bottoms, Pershell, was like, oh, you can stay here for a little bit. I said, why is it just a little bit? She said, well, girl, I'm getting laid off too. She said, I'm about to be on the street too. I said, what? So I get to her apartment and oh my gosh, the living room is definitely probably about a quarter of this room. And I was just like, I guess I'm here on the floor. And in one room, she had a guy doing hair. It was cutting hair. And in the other room was her and her boyfriend. So it's four of us piled up in this 800 square foot space. That I was like, okay, we're going to make this work. And I ended up, like I say, on welfare, food stamps, you name it. I was selling my clothes out my car just so I could eat and put gas in the car and just keep functioning from day to day. And time goes on, and I even shared at the rally how I, like, snuck into the BET Awards. Like, for if I go through this whole story, we'll be here for hours. So I'm trying to, like, condense this.
Wait, so did you live out of your car after she lost her apartment?
Yeah, I had to go back to the car. So it was the car, then her place, then back to the car, and then
Did you apply for jobs?
Oh, that's an understatement. I applied for 153 jobs. So at this point, I'm like pissed. And that's what I meant by like things will just work its way out to where you're supposed to be anyway. I keep looking for these jobs for all of this security that I couldn't find. I mean, to this day, I haven't had a job since that one job of 30 days. So it's like, okay, I clearly was not meant to do that. That's just what this is.
Did it feel like that at the time?
Hell no. No, if I knew that, I wouldn't have spent my time applying for 153 jobs. I stopped counting at 153 because I was like, this amount of rejection, it will kill somebody's self-esteem. I was like, you know what, Arian, do not count this. Just apply when you can and just keep going on day to day. I was like, because this is not healthy to feel this constantly. It just wasn't.
You're never really stuck, right? Often in life, we tend to ignore our purpose because of fear. We stay at jobs that are unfulfilling, and we spend our days working to live out someone else's dreams. Not Arian. She followed her heart and believed in herself, and as you continue to hear her story, I think you'll see how well that turned out for her.
So time goes on. Like I say, I just learned how to dance in the rain. And with that being said, I snuck into the BET Awards one day and I told her we're getting dressed up and we're going down there. And she's like, this is ridiculous. I was like, I just want to have fun. I was like, I need to have fun. Life has taken its turns on me. And I'm like, I'm making a choice right now to be happy. I'm making a choice to have fun. And I'm getting dressed up and I'm walking the carpet just like all the celebrities. And I'm going to go to this award show. Now, we get there, and my friend's trying all these different doors, and she's just like, Arian, they're not letting us in. I said, well, no, stuff. We don't have tickets. Why are you trying to go through the door? I said, I told you we have to walk the carpet. So literally, lo and behold, I always tell people to apply the principle of act like it's already done.
Just act like you own the place.
Completely.
You can get anywhere.
Always. Yeah. You know. So I get down there and somebody literally was at the carpet at the entrance. It was like, hey, Arian. I didn't know who the heck this was. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, that's our cue. That's our cue. And she's like, what is happening? So I'm talking to this guy and it turns out he went to the same college as me. He went to FAMU and I'm like, okay, great. I do not remember who this is at the time, but he's like, I just signed with Usher. You can come to the award show with us. And I'm like, oh, this is bomb. So I have like no clue of really who he is at this moment. I just know I must have a frame of reference from school. And he gets to talking and I'm like, great. So Usher just walks up and grabs my arm. And he's just like, come on. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm racing down the red carpet, and they're like, oh my gosh, who's the girl in the white dress? And I'm like, it's me. And I was so nervous because I'm like, oh gosh, if I stop and say my name, they're going to be like, well, who the heck are you? Luckily, we didn't stop for photos, interviews, or anything like that. And I'm like, thank God this was not the social media era, because it would have been blasted everywhere. Like, Usher takes mysterious girl down red carpet. Who is she? Oh my gosh. So we get in there, and it was just amazing. We had a blast, and I just continued to just dance in the rain. Jamie Foxx was hosting a party for an artist named Chingy. And I was just like, okay, let's just continue to dance in the rain. So we get in there, and it's crowded wall to wall to wall. And they're having like this big booty contest. And I was just like, oh, the prize is $1,000. And I was like, Arian, okay, you can't do this. This is going to be just too much. Well, turns out Jamie was not pleased with the talent that was on the stage. And he spots a girl in the audience, and the girl is me. He said, no, her right there. And I'm looking around to the right, to the left. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's talking about me. So then they pick me up. And literally, security picks me up, and all these other people pick me up, and they carry me all the way up to the stage. And I was like, Jamie, I'm not about to do all the stuff that I've seen on this stage, though. And he was just like, oh, you don't have to. You're going to stand here, and we're going to clap. So they start clapping. The crowd starts going wild. And I'm like all excited, like, oh, my gosh, I'm about to get this money. And mind you, oh, my gosh, I'd been on the dollar menu probably for like the whole past 2 weeks. So I was like, oh, great, I get to get a meal. And then all of a sudden, this girl who's about a size, I would say 0. I can't even give her a 2. Probably about a size 0 gets on stage, and she does 1,000 splits and twerks and jumps and all these dances. And I was like, oh no, the crowd starts cheering for her. And he's like, oh gosh, I can't help you past this point. And I was like, oh no. I was basically like, this then stole my money. I was so upset. And I said, you know what? I can't. And he said, well, I said, I remember the woman my mother raised. I said, no, I just can't right now. I said, not that I don't have the talent to do all of these things that they've done. I said, because I do. I said, but I can't.
I'm not doing that in front of a bunch of strangers.
Yes. And he was just like, okay. But I'm so glad in that moment that I did maintain my dignity, because years later, I ended up being hired to do a party actually at his house, to Event Planet. So he kept saying, oh my gosh, you look familiar. You look really familiar. I was like, oh, I just have one of those faces.
You didn't say where?
Oh no. Even like the other day, I was, scouting out things for our conference, and they were like, Jamie Foxx is in the lobby right now just singing songs. I was like, oh, I said, well, he knows my face. He just doesn't know from where. So yeah, one day he probably will hear the story and put 2 and 2 together. But no, I didn't say anything.
So what happened? So you sold your clothes out of your car.
Oh gosh.
You were on the dollar menu. You still haven't, you didn't win because you weren't willing to pull your butt out.
Drop it like it's hot.
Yeah. How did you pick yourself up, and what happened next?
My faith in God is just very strong. So my faith is what just kept me going. I was like, there has to be something better out here. And one day somebody called me from that one job I had from 30 days. It was months later. I'm like, heck, because you called me the day after I got fired? So months later, someone called and said, we noticed your work. Your work ethic is amazing. We don't have a position necessarily to hire, but we would like to be a client of yours. And I was just like, what do I have to do? They were like, PR and marketing. And I was just like, okay, well, what do you need done? They needed like furniture marketed at that time. And I was just like, you want me? And I was just like, okay, great, I'll do it. But the thing about it was they could have called me to paint the walls, and I would be like, okay, great, I'll do it. I just wanted to eat. I was such in survival mode for those 7 months that I was just like, I just want to eat. Mm-hmm. I just want to have just a good night's rest. Just, oh my gosh. So in 2 weeks, they referred me to somebody who referred me to somebody else. And I ended up with like 5 to 7 clients. And I went and got office space, and I slept on the office floor because I knew in Los Angeles what I could afford for an apartment. I'm like, I can't bring anybody to this place. I need to entertain clients right now. And with the story, I was brought right back around to entrepreneurship. So I left entrepreneurship to go get a job that I thought was stability, to get kicked out of there, to end up right back to entrepreneurship. So that's why I'm like, I believe in purpose, and I believe in divine planning. And I'm like, this was just clearly God's divine plan for me to be a business owner. So I'm just back here again.
That's amazing.
Owning a business.
Instead of getting a home, you got an office that you lived in.
Yes.
It's genius. Where did you shower?
Oh, at the LA Fitness. It's on the bottom floor. No, seriously, if you go right today, 5900 Wilshire, right across is LA Fitness. And then you can walk right across the walkway. Yep.
We're going to hear more about Arian's journey in just a minute. But first, we want to introduce you to a new sponsor on Girlboss Radio, Brand Folder.
Whoa.
So Brand Folder is an incredible tool. So I don't know if you've experienced this, but you have a brand or you're working with someone else's brand and you're trying to access your logo, images, graphic design stuff, anything that you refer to over and over and over again, and it's locked in some kind of cloud folder somewhere, and maybe the resolution isn't right, you can't find it, you don't know what folder it's in, well, enter Brand Folder. Brand Folder's platform is made for approved assets to be distributed publicly or privately, benefiting any company who needs to quickly organize, simplify, and manage assets effectively to maintain brand consistency. And this is so important. Every company that launches right now is so buttoned up in their branding. It is like they all have like a massive creative agency behind them, but actually it's usually just a few people. So having that easy to access and easy to understand is so incredibly important for you to look like a bigger business than you actually are. And it has in-app analytics to help you measure which assets are performing best in the marketplace. Companies like JetBlue, Slack, Under Armour, and thousands more use Brand Folder to provide a single source of truth for all things related to their brand equity, and your company can too. Go to brandfolder.com/girlboss to unlock the complete potential for all your brand assets with a free 90-day trial. I'm going right now, and that's brandfolder.com/girlboss to manage all of your digital assets from one location and set your team up for winning in 2018. Now back to Arian Simone. For Arian, it started with the publicity projects, and that led her to other celebrity clients and then a magazine? I was curious to know how Arian went from publicity and marketing to magazine and media.
It turned into the entertainment industry overnight, which was not even the plan. So I'm in this office, and there's a radio station. It was the happening hip-hop station at the time. Steve Harvey had his morning show, and I networked with every celebrity coming in and out the door. So talk about being in the right place, right time. And I made those connections, and I made it work. And I met Coach Carter from the movie Coach Carter, and he took me over to Paramount Studios, and he said, I'm going to help you. At the time, I was even still living in the office, and he was like, no woman should live like this. And I kept trying to tell him I was fine. In my heart and in my spirit, in my mind, I thought I was fine. I was like, I've been through worse. I'm okay.
But you're like, I'll take the help.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And I was like, Paramount Studios, of course. I wasn't saying no.
Hell yeah.
So next thing you know, I look up and I'm interviewing at other studios and other movie opportunities. And I was just like, wow. So I've done so many PR and marketing campaigns for movies, for Sony Pictures, for Walt Disney, for Universal, and the list just goes on and on. So I've done films for Will Smith. I did his Hancock and Takers, Ride Along, Limitless, Robert De Niro and Bradley Cooper. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So I was able to build a pretty heavy portfolio.
How do you organize your contacts? Like, what does your Rolodex look like? Do you use, like, what's your system? Because that is, like, the hardest thing. And if relationships are a really important part of your job, having that organized by location and category, and I don't know how publicists do it, but, like, how do you do that today? That's just personal advice.
That is a good question. I honestly don't have the perfect answer for that one. Everybody's in my phone.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody's in my phone. There are people that you just connect with that you are going to always remember. Oh my gosh, let me remember their birthday. Let me remember, holidays. If they have a child, let me definitely send a gift. I do believe in giftology. Mm-hmm. And I know some people are like, what is that? Keep up the marketing of their business by just making sure they remember to celebrate people at those moments. Mm-hmm. So I definitely make sure of that. I send flowers. I'm always just celebrating people's achievements.
It's important.
Yes. So I would definitely say that from a standpoint of strategy, to definitely stay in touch and just always celebrate people. So I could say that. But as far as like physical organization, everybody's just in my phone.
So for Arian, one little opportunity led to the next, and those opportunities got bigger and bigger. Networking and using her contacts to leverage her next opportunity was a big part of her story. So what advice does she have for women who struggle with the practice of networking?
My advice would be to take advantage of this digital age that we're living in. That's just the reality of it. I've seen the introverts kick butt. Like, they have some of the largest social media audiences. They have the most happening YouTube channels because they're able to connect with people without having to make the first encounter a face-to-face encounter. So you're able to reach out to build a rapport. So now you're more so comfortable when I have to see this person for lunch. I'm more so comfortable. Back before social media, I had to make all of my interactions were initially face-to-face.
But you like walk up to people.
Yes. So
what do you say when you walk up to someone? I'm sure you still do it.
Oh, of course. Of course.
And you kind of did that to me, right?
Yes,
like you just
I'm close. I'm fearless.
Yeah.
I have that.
You are.
So with that being said, I like to say the advice for somebody who is more so the introvert. I'm like an extrovert in personality, an introvert in lifestyle. I'm more so private in my lifestyle, just like to be at home type of person. But personality-wise, I'm not scared to approach anybody. You know, Warren Buffett can walk through the door right now. Oprah can walk through the door, and I'm striking up a conversation.
What would you say to Oprah? Because I want to meet Oprah, and I don't know what I would say.
Now, I have met her.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
No, it's because, like you say, my boldness and fearlessness. I was at one of the tapings, and I told her security, Thomas, who still works with her to this day, like when he saw me like years later, he's like, wait a minute, I remember this encounter. And I said, well, can you ask Oprah if she'll come meet me in her private studio back there? He's like, what are you asking? She doesn't do that after the shows. I said, well, you need to ask. I said, you need to ask. And I knew somebody that was a mutual colleague, so I was able to drop a name, though, too. But even if not, I would have still told him you need to ask. Because I'm like, you just never know sometimes. You just need to ask.
Yeah.
So many things happen because you just ask. And he was just like, okay, this is weird, but I'm going to ask. So he goes back there. He's like, this young lady is out there. She would like to meet you. The studio's pretty much cleared, so we won't have to deal with the hassle of everybody else. She said, sure, why not? Just have her come back. So I just walked on back, and we went in her studio room, and we talked about retail and the business of that and the nature of that. And she talked about, like, even, you know, the ups and downs and the difficulties in it. And I said, yeah, I wish I knew. That's just what comes with the territory of it. You know, I would have hung in longer, but most definitely, I think sometimes you just have to ask. You just have to go for it. But I can definitely say for the person who is introvert, take advantage of the connections you can make through technology and then go for a face-to-face encounter. Because now you've passed that awkward moment. Mm-hmm. You've passed the moment of, oh, gosh, what do I say?
Yeah.
You know, so you have that opportunity of connection that's already there. But honestly, to strike up general conversation face-to-face, I don't make it difficult.
What would you say if you walked up to me?
If it's something like...
If we didn't know each other.
If we didn't know each other. Something like whether it's your hair or your outfit. Like, your outfit is cute today. So it's just a natural compliment.
Thank
like,
you.
oh my gosh, your outfit is cute today. Even earlier today, I was in the elevator with somebody who I had no clue who they were. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I love your jacket. And we're just talking, I was like, oh, hey, I'm Arian Simone. What's your name?
Cool.
So, but I make it organic and I make it natural. I'm not going to give somebody a compliment that's undeserving. If I don't think the outfit's not cute, I'm not going to say, oh my gosh, your outfit's cute. No, it's very sincere. Mm-hmm. Like, if your outfit's cute, I'm going to say your outfit's cute. If your hair is nice, I'm like, your hair is nice. So it may just be just casual conversation. And then that just leads into more of a heavier discussion, whether it's networking or business or things of that sort. Oh, what do you have going on? Or what do you enjoy? That type of conversation. But it usually starts off very casual.
So let's talk about where you are now. Tell me about, so are you doing PR anymore at all?
I haven't.
What
oh my
has
gosh.
your company,
Okay, so
what
let
have
me
you,
go through the evolution.
Yeah, how has it evolved?
So for about 13 years, I was definitely very heavy in doing PR marketing for films, for music artists. And next thing you know, I realized that being fearless was like an ingredient to success. So with that being said, I launched a magazine called Fearless Magazine. And I was just all about, and still am to this day, just female empowerment, female entrepreneurship, just sharing other people's journeys. And that launched in 2010. And I had cover girls from like Khloe Kardashian to Kelly Rowland to Lala Anthony. Well, from my connections in the entertainment industry.
It's amazing.
So, but my goal and mission with Fearless to this day is always just to share transparent journeys of other people. And with that being said, very much so a female empowerment, female entrepreneurship focus. My journey, of course, is what, you know, sparked the whole Fearless movement. But now we celebrate everybody involved in it. So that's pretty much where I'm at now. So
what does fearless mean to you? Because everybody encounters fear.
Yes.
So tell me about the Fearless brand and how you think about that word fearless.
For me, fearless is pretty much living life without doubt. So I just go for it. Like, I don't let the doubt creep in. I don't do that at all. I just have to go for it. Don't get me wrong. We're all human. We have, like say fears and things we're afraid of. But I'm like, okay, if I remove the doubt, what would the situation look like?
Yeah.
If I remove the doubt, how would I approach the situation? So that's what being fearless is for me.
Arian's story is so inspiring. In 2015, she put it all down on paper with a memoir titled My Fabulous and Fearless Journey, From Homeless to Hollywood. And that has led her to more speaking engagements all over the country. What advice does she have for women who are challenged by themselves, paralyzed and afraid of making changes for fear of failure?
People will allow fear to dictate their decisions. So when you take that off the table, what is the decision you will make? Like you said, what would you do if you weren't afraid? And it's just like, well, wait a minute. Now the possibilities are opening.
Yeah. So did you have any mentors along the way? Or are you just really
Yes.
a force? Like, who were your mentors along the way? And
Well,
how'd you find them?
when I stayed in the office space and I met a lady at the radio station, her name is Roz Stevenson. And I dropped her name in an interview at one of the studios, and I got the job immediately. And I was like, whoa, what is happening right now? So I called her. Mind you, I did not know her. Went to lunch with her one time. I said, Roz, I kind of like dropped your name in an interview. And she laughed. She said, did you get the job? She was like, you have a new client? I was like, I do. I said, it's Sony Pictures. And she was like, come to my house, and I'm going to teach you everything I know. She's like, because if you're going to use my name, you're going to represent it well. And she did. She took me under her wing, and she introduced me to everybody she knew in the entertainment industry, the film industry, and it was amazing. I get to her house, and there's posters of everybody just all along her walls. It looks like a Hollywood museum. And I was like, oh, my gosh, where am I at? What did you do? She's like, I was the first black female exec at Universal Pictures, first black exec there, period. And I was just like, wow. And then she was like, I've done over 700 movies. I was like, oh. So, yes, I've had mentors career-wise, and then now everybody's your mentor because you're listening to every single podcast. You're listening to every single everything and just gathering information constantly. But I definitely take time out to seek counsel from people who are more successful, people who have gone places that I haven't been in life. And I'm like, okay, so I believe in mentorship. I definitely believe in getting counsel.
Arian Simone Enterprises has a hand in a magazine, a podcast, a subscription-based box service, conferences, the foundation. What's next for Arian?
2018 is going to be a huge year. I'm so excited about it. We just had our huge conference in Atlanta, which was November, our Fierce Reloaded conference. Sold out. About 500 women were there, and we had a great time. I was so excited. We had from influencers to celebrities to entrepreneurs, everybody pretty much just sharing their journeys, and we're doing it again in July. So for 2018, we have our Fearless Discussions, which we've had since 2014, I want to say. And those are transparent conversations about real-life topics affecting today's society and pop culture. So we have, whether it's like women in tech or like the cryptocurrency craze, that would be like one about like a fearless discussion of how can we invest our money in something that has like a quick turnaround. Do we go long or do we go short with this? What do we do? That's like another idea. But we will be in Aspen for our Fearless Retreat in January. We will be in Morocco for a Fearless Discussion in February. We'll be at South by Southwest for a Fearless Discussion in March. And we have our Fearless 40 in April that will be in Los Angeles, honoring 40 female entrepreneurs. Cool. So Fearless has plenty of things going on. I'm very excited about our event activations. I'm excited about our partnerships. I'm just excited overall. And you know this personally, but of course the people listening don't know. After I attended your Girlboss rally, I was like, Arian, you need to pick Fearless back up off the shelf, dust it off, and just keep going. Because Sophia has proven to you that this is possible.
That's so cool.
Yes.
I mean, oh my gosh, that is so many events. That
Yes.
is so much work. Who produces that? Do you have a team?
Yeah, well, I can't do all that by myself.
Yeah.
I wish. But just small. It's just like 4 of us, and we're growing. Because right now, I was like, we need to be hiring. She was like, yeah. She was like, we need to get a couple more people in here to help us out.
We're at that stage right now where
I was
everyone's
like,
like, you
we
want me
need
to
some more
do
people.
this much work? What?
Yeah, I was like, we need some more people. So
And you mentioned an online store.
Yes.
Are you working on putting that together?
Yes, it's launching this spring, this April. I'm excited about it. And I was meeting with one of the girls who's helping me curate all the different pieces this morning. So I'm excited about it because that's like a dream deferred.
Is it fashion?
Yeah, that I've let sit too long. So similar to, and you've had even Gwyneth on your show. So similar to how like even Goop has an online section for merchandise.
Yeah.
So yes,
Cool.
I'm excited because that's a dream deferred of mine for 15 years. I need to pick up off the shelf too. So I'm at a place of evolution where I think that everything has all made sense. And I'm like, okay, I can see where all of my journey is aligning and all of what I'm supposed to be doing.
So for the listener who wants to start a business, because your story is so inspiring, what advice would you give? Like, where do you start?
One, at this stage, you can monetize. I wouldn't say make a business, but you can monetize anything you're passionate about. That's just the reality. So whether you enjoy, jumping on a trampoline, you can go into business selling those. Like there's so many different ways to go into business, but because we know that business has its ups and downs and we know that business does come with a lot, you have to be passionate about it because it's the passion that's going to push you over any obstacle that's going to come into play. So you want to make sure whatever this is that you truly enjoy it. Or I tell people this all the time. If you're trying to get into it just for money, you need to put your money in the market because, or in cryptocurrencies, but that can just make you money itself if you're going just for the money. But if you're going for something that's bigger, this is something that you have a purpose behind. This is something you're solving a problem for. This is something you're serving an audience, something for the greater good. Just go and start with what you're passionate about because there's always a way to monetize it, whether it's a service, whether it's a product. Just start with what's in your heart.
What do you want your legacy to be?
I would definitely say a woman who is generous, a woman who is kind. Of course, some people would approach legacy for, oh my gosh, I want whatever statue or museum named after them. No, I would just want to be known as somebody who paved a way for other people.
Arian's focus doesn't stop at building her own dreams. In addition to Arian Simone Enterprises, she's running a foundation to support women. The Fearless Foundation's mission is to reduce homelessness by providing financial and rehabilitative aid to women's shelters and transitional homes.
So we have shelter partners in Los Angeles, Atlanta, many major cities. And with that, they also go through our workbook. It's our Be Fearless workbook. We started it in probably 2011. And we started sending them out to different shelters probably around 2014 when it started getting a lot of places. And the ladies love it. I even have testimonials where people write in oh my gosh, I'm on day 10. This was great. I'm so inspired. So it has other different people's fearless journeys in there, affirmations they have to say, words of wisdom, because I definitely want it to be a situation of you want to get out of this place and move into an apartment. And when that happens, for a lot of the people in our shelter partners, we celebrate them. We give them furniture. We put up different artwork in their apartment. So they have that feeling of, oh my gosh, I'm moving with dignity and someone's rooting me along the way. So that's our Fearless Foundation. And we end up having to actually honor one of our speakers recently. Unfortunately, she was hit by Hurricane Irma. And she's dressed Beyonce and Blue Ivy. I mean, she was amazing. Her name's Kristen Fraser. And she has her truffle designs down in the British Virgin Islands. But Hurricane Irma wiped it all out. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to allow you to come to my conference. She didn't know it, though. We surprised her with a lot of cash to leave. But I wasn't going to allow her to not leave without a nice check just to start her life over.
How do you finance the foundation?
All the ticket sales from the conference. No, literally.
Yeah.
Seriously, from a standpoint of complete transparency.
How much do tickets cost?
And business. Tickets for the conference started at $247, but then they went up. So it was $500 for general admission towards the end and maybe $1,500 for Platinum VIP.
What does Platinum VIP get?
3 days of a conference versus 1 day. General admission has the 1 day.
Okay.
Platinum has 3 days and then Gold has 2 days. Wow. So, but upcoming, we're just going to do just general admission and VIP because I was I'm narrowing this down a little bit.
That's a lot.
It was a lot of production. It was definitely a lot production-wise on me. So I was whoa, we're narrowing this down a little bit. But with that being said, from, let's say, complete transparency, we use the ticket sales to fund the foundation. Now, there are people who do just through business and knowing people who will write a check to the foundation to support the mission. So through our donors and through the conference. That's what funds it.
Okay, so we have this thing called Girlboss moments.
Yes.
You know about Girlboss moments. You've listened to the
Probably know
podcast.
about everybody.
Okay.
About everything going on here at Girlboss.
What was your most recent Girlboss moment?
Oh, excuse me. I'm trying to think of, now recently there were like all these different holiday parties. And I live in a city where they say we go out 60% more than any other city. And I was just like, you know what? I'm taking these moments for myself. And I'm just not going to go to the next party. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, come on, come on, come on. I was like, no.
Yeah.
I was right at the house.
Saying no feels so
Yes.
good sometimes.
And so often women feel guilty from it, and they just have to let that go. People always like balance. And I'm like, no. I said, I don't achieve balance. I achieve fulfillment. I do what fulfills me. Mm-hmm. I said, because when we look at balance, people look at it as 50-50. You look at balancing a scale. I was like, you don't have to give 50% over here in one area and 50% over here in another area. You just need to do what fulfills you and not feel guilty about it.
What does success mean to you?
Success to me is living out your purpose. And for every single person, that looks different. Mm-hmm. So success should look different for everybody.
I agree. Where can we find you?
You can find me at Arian Simone or at Fearless Mag, and that's on everything. So I keep the same handles everywhere I go.
Thank you so much for listening to Girlboss Radio this week. Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, New Year. What else happens?
I don't know.
It's my boyfriend's birthday. Happy birthday, Galen.
Happy birthday, Galen.
And thank you all for listening, for your support of Girlboss Radio this year, for your support of Girlboss this year, for subscribing to the girlboss.com emails, for making this an incredible year of transition and growth and new things for me and everybody here at Girlboss. We love you.
We love you so much.
Thank you.